You raised them, you fed them, you stayed up nights when they were sick, and now you check your phone 6 times a day to see if they've called. You tell yourself they're busy. You tell yourself it's normal. You tell yourself you're not the kind of parent who needs to be called every day. And yet, somewhere underneath all of that, there's a small, ashamed voice that just keeps quietly asking, did I do something wrong? Stay with me, because the silence between you and your grown children isn't what you think it is. And once you understand what's really happening, something shifts for both of you. I'm Walter. I'm 65, retired, and for the last few years I've been quietly studying what nobody warned us about this chapter of life. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share 7 things almost nobody understands about why grown children drift away. And one of them, the last one, is the hardest and most beautiful thing I've learned in this whole chapter of life. The first 6 insights are quiet truths I've seen in friends and in myself. The 7th one will change how you see your child and the next phone call you do or don't receive. Let's start with why this happens. Here's something almost no one tells parents in their 60s. Your relationship with your adult child has changed 3 times since they were born. And the third change, the one happening right now, is the one nobody prepared you for. The first relationship was when they were children. You were their world. They needed you for everything. You said when to eat, when to sleep, when to come home. The second relationship was the teenage one. They started to push you away, sometimes hard, but they still needed you. The arguments still meant something. The silence was still a kind of conversation. The third relationship, the one you're in now, is different from anything that came before. Because for the first time in their lives, your child genuinely doesn't need you anymore. They love you, but they don't need you. And love without need feels different, quieter, sometimes painfully so. This is called the inversion. Psychologists have studied it for decades. It's the moment in adult life when the parent stops being the person who gives the relationship its weight, and the child becomes the one who decides how often it happens. It's not abandonment. It's not failure. It's a transition almost every healthy family goes through, and almost no one talks about, because it hurts to admit out loud. The silence isn't them not loving you. It's them being free for the first time. And freedom, when you've raised it, can feel a lot like loss. The first thing you need to know is this. Your nervous system is still listening for them, even when they're not calling. For 30 or 40 years, your phone rang because of your children. Sick days, pickup requests, crises, school, friends, worry, love. Your body learned the sound of being needed by them. That nervous system doesn't shut off when the calls stop. It keeps listening. It scans every silence. It mistakes the hum of the refrigerator for a buzz. It hears the doorbell as a notification. This is what I call the phantom ring. Picture Ray. He's 69. He retired 6 years ago. He still checks his phone an average of 43 times a day. Not because he expects a call, because his body still hasn't accepted that there might not be one. When you catch yourself reaching for the phone, pause. Place your hand on your chest. Say quietly, "My body misses being needed. That's all this is." The phantom ring is not a sign of weakness. It's a 40-year-old habit grieving in real time. Be patient with it. Now this is where it gets interesting. Your adult child is quietly recreating the exact emotional distance you had with your own parents, and neither of you sees it. Think about it. How often did you call your father in your 40s? Once a month? Once a season? Was he the kind of man you called when you were happy, or only when something went wrong? Whatever pattern you had with your own father or mother, your adult child is unconsciously replaying. Not out of cruelty, out of inheritance. Picture David. He's 70. One morning over breakfast, he realized that his son Mark was calling him exactly as often as he himself had once called his own father. About every 6 weeks. He had built the very distance he was now mourning. It wasn't his fault, and it wasn't his son's either. It was a family pattern that had simply walked into the next generation. Before you next feel hurt about a missed call, ask yourself one quiet question. How often did I call my own parents at this age? The answer is often humbling and freeing. The pattern is older than your child. You are not being punished. You are watching an inheritance. Here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. You're reading your child's silence with the wrong dictionary. You're translating their love through your generation's language, and theirs reads completely differently. In your generation, love was shown by calling, by visiting, by Sunday dinners, by being there in person. In their generation, love is shown by sending a quick meme at 11 p.m, by tagging you in a photo, by the group text they keep you in, by the silence that means, "I trust you don't need constant reassurance." Their love language is casual presence. Yours is formal contact. Neither is wrong. But if you read theirs through yours, all you'll hear is silence. Picture Susan. She's 66. Her son Mark sends her 3 texts a week. Funny videos, recipes, photos of her grandson. She still feels he never calls. He thinks he's in touch with her constantly. They love each other deeply. They're just speaking 2 different languages, and neither one knows it. Learn their dictionary. The text is the call. The meme is the visit. The photo is the hug. When you accept their language as real love, the silence dissolves. And when you respond in their language, a quick voice note, a thumbs up, a forwarded article, the conversation comes back to life. This one is the hardest one for fathers especially. So if you're a father, I'm asking you to hear me. There comes a quiet moment in late parenting when you stop being presence available and start being advice available. And your adult children feel the shift the moment it happens. If every conversation becomes a small lecture, even a kind one, your child stops coming to you. They love you. They just don't want to be edited. There's a difference between the parent who says, "Tell me everything," and the parent who says, "Well, here's what you should do." One is a soft place to land. The other is a meeting. Picture Frank. He's 69. He spent decades giving his son advice his son didn't ask for. Then one year he decided, for the next 12 months, I will not give him advice unless he literally asks me a question. His son started calling him twice a week within 4 months. Frank hadn't gotten wiser. He'd just gotten quieter. Become a sanctuary, not a service desk. The next time your child calls or visits, set a private rule. I will ask 3 questions before I offer 1 opinion. That small discipline is the difference between being a parent your child should call and a parent your child wants to call. And what I'm about to tell you next surprised me more than anything I've learned about this chapter of life. Now, I almost didn't include this one because it sounds cold at first, but it's one of the most freeing truths in this whole chapter. Your adult child has a finite amount of what I call obligation energy. They have a job, a spouse, kids, a mortgage, friendships, in-laws, and themselves. The energy they have for should-do interactions is limited. They can't change that. Neither can you. If most of the time you spend with them feels like obligation, guilt trips, complaints about not calling, reminders of what they owe you, they will spend their limited warmth somewhere else. Not because they don't love you, because they're protecting their last reserves. Picture Margaret. She's 72. She decided 10 years ago to be the easiest phone call her daughter Anna ever made. Never guilt, never demands, only stories and warmth. Anna calls her now 3 or 4 times a week, completely unprompted. Margaret didn't earn that with pressure. She earned it with safety. Make calling you easy. Replace one guilt sentence with one funny story. Replace one "you never call" with one "I was thinking of you today. No need to call back." You will be amazed how quickly the math changes when the cost of calling you drops to 0. Hold on to this, because it's one of the strangest and truest things about adult children. Sometimes your child isn't avoiding you. They're avoiding becoming you. When your adult child looks at you, they don't just see their parent. They see a future they're terrified of. The exhaustion you wore, the choices you didn't get to make, the dreams you let slip, the moments you missed. They love you. And sometimes, quietly, they're trying to live a life that doesn't end up looking like yours. Picture Joe. He's 74. After years of feeling pushed away, his son finally told him plainly, "I'm not avoiding you, Dad. I'm avoiding becoming who you became at my age." Joe didn't argue. He understood, and oddly, he felt closer to his son than he had in 20 years. Because finally, the truth was on the table. Don't take their distance personally. Their distance is sometimes a survival strategy. They're choosing a different shape of life. The kindest thing you can do is bless that choice out loud. The day you say, "I'm glad you're choosing differently than I did," something heavy lifts in your relationship. For both of you. And now, we come to the seventh insight, the hardest one. You have to forgive your child for not calling before they ever apologize. This isn't about being a doormat. It isn't about excusing real neglect. It's about something deeper, quieter, and more profound. The act of releasing the bill of grievances you've been keeping in your chest. Every parent over 65 keeps a small ledger of birthdays missed, of calls not returned, of holidays they spent alone. We don't say it out loud, but we keep score. But here's what I've learned. Carrying that ledger past 65 is its own quiet poison. It leaks into every phone call. It hardens your voice. It makes every visit feel like a trial they have to pass. The final forgiveness is the moment you set the ledger down. Not because they earned it, but because you can't carry it anymore. And here's the miracle nobody talks about. When you set it down, your children feel it, even from 1,000 miles away. Picture Bob. He's 76. He wrote a letter to his daughter, forgiving her for years he'd never named out loud. He never sent it. He kept it in a drawer. 3 weeks later, his daughter called him out of nowhere and said, "Dad, I don't know why, but I've been thinking about you all month." He just smiled. He understood. Write the letter. Don't send it. Fold it. Put it somewhere private. Then watch what happens. Not to them, but to you. The bitterness leaves, and often, mysteriously, so does the silence. There's a line from David Brooks I think about whenever this gets hard. He said, "The deepest love in any family is the love that lets someone leave." For 30 years you held them, you shaped them, you shielded them, and now your love has to take a different shape, a harder one, a quieter one, a love that lets them be far away and still be loved. That kind of love doesn't show up in phone logs. It doesn't show up in calendars. It shows up in something subtler, a quiet, unbroken presence that doesn't demand anything back. And here's the strangest thing. The parents I know who let go the most, who stopped demanding the calls, are usually the ones whose children come home most often. Not because the children were freed from guilt, but because they were freed into love. The phone might not ring tonight, or this week, but that doesn't mean you're forgotten. It means your child is doing what you raised them to do, living their own life, fully. And that, in the end, was always the point. Now, what we talked about today is one piece of a larger story. And there's another piece I haven't told you yet. Because once the children have flown, another quiet question begins to surface in many marriages. A question almost no one asks out loud, even though most long-married couples are quietly living inside it. When you've spent 40 years together, but the kids are gone, the routines have changed, and you both have more silence than you've ever had, who are we now to each other? I made a video about exactly this, about the silent loneliness inside long marriages, what it really means, and the small acts of reconnection that bring two people who love each other back into the same room. I tell the story of a couple who hadn't truly talked in 11 years, and what one ordinary Wednesday changed. I'll put it right there at the end of this one. If this found you tonight, subscribe. I make a new one every Tuesday and Friday for people walking this same road. And that next video about long marriages, it's queued up for you, ready when you are. I'm glad you're here, friend. I'll see you in the next one.